Hi everyone! Today we are going to be testing out a new brand. This is actually a brand that I had never heard of until they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try some of their products. This video is also sponsored by Glamierre, so thank you so much for that. This is going to be my first impression on their brand. So I am excited because honestly a lot of this stuff looks really cool. So I'm going to show you all of the stuff that they sent me. Then we are going to play with some of them. Obviously, all my opinions are going to be very honest. I made that very clear in my email conversation with them. I would never do a sponsored video otherwise, so this isn't going to be anything different from my other first impression videos. So let's just get into this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start by showing you the stuff that they gave me. So the first thing here is actually a brush set, and these look so cute. Let me just tell you. So it comes in a little pouch like this, and then you open it up and it's got all of these kind of like crystallized brushes. They're absolutely beautiful, and the thing that I love the most about them is that they are actually a lot smaller than regular brushes. So when you see the angle brush here, this is actually a way smaller angle brush than like other angle brushes that I have in my collection, and the same goes for like basically the whole range. Like the shapes of the brushes are very standard shape brushes, but like the size of the the head of the brushes themselves are a lot smaller, and you guys know how much I keep going on about wanting smaller brushes because every brush is too big for my face. So we are going to be testing some of these. I don't know if I'll be able to try all of them. I have a little bit of makeup on. I just put on my foundation and concealer and powder, and that's it. And then I will try out these brushes with some, bronzer, blush, highlight, all that stuff. So let me show you the eyeshadow palettes that they sent me. They actually sent me 3. But they did tell me to focus on mostly one of them and the pigments. So let me just show you the pigments first actually. So these are neon pigments that I ended up getting. I have 6 of them. I'm going to use those in like the last part of the video because I'll probably do 2 looks. I'll do one look with one of the palettes, and then I'll do another look with the neon pigments so we can actually like focus on those and try to test those out properly. So the first eyeshadow palette that they sent me is called the Rose Gold Luxe. This is a 12 color eyeshadow palette, and I am such a sucker for like, stupid packaging like this. I just think this is so fun and so cute. I could sit here and like stare at this all day. And it reminds me a lot of, I think there was some kind of a holiday release from, was it Ciate London or something last year that had the same kind of packaging, and I really like the palette, like the outside of the palette, but I didn't like the palette itself. But I think the color story in this is actually really pretty. It does have a pressed glitter in it, and I made sure to tell them that I am not comfortable putting glitter on my eyes, so I will not be using any of the glitters. But I will say that the glitter in this seemed very finely milled, so if there ever was a glitter that I would want to put on my eyes, it would be something similar to this. It also does have like adhesive in the glitter, so you don't have to use glitter glue, but I did swatch all of these over glitter glue just because I wasn't sure and I wanted to make sure that it stuck, and I will say that they did swatch beautifully. The next palette that they sent me is giant. Like, this is so big. I mean, look at this. Look at the size. So let me just show you the inside of this. So this is a 18 pan palette. It's got 6 pressed glitters. As you can see, its top row here is all glitters and the rest are mattes. This is obviously not really my color story, so they did tell me to not mostly focus on this, but they still wanted me to show it to you so you can see what it looks like and just so you guys know what they have on their site. But they definitely knew that this wasn't like my aesthetic and that it was totally fine if I didn't use this. And the last palette they sent me is the Island Bay palette. I want to say this is their newest palette. This is the one that I'll be doing a look with today. And here is what the palette looks like. I actually think the color story of this is really beautiful. I like how it has like some cool tones and some warm tones. Obviously this one has glitters as well. And like I said, I probably will not be using any of these glitters on my eyes unless something, I don't know, pops into my head that I somehow want to use glitter, but don't count on that because I'm just not really a glitter kind of person. But again, I will say that all of the glitter swatched really beautifully, so if you're into glitter, I think you would like these. I mean, they seem like pretty good glitters, but I'm not really one to judge because I'm not a glitter connoisseur, is that what I call it? But for being a glitter, I feel like they seem like they were pretty good glitter, but what do I know? So we're gonna go ahead and put on some more makeup here because that is much needed. So I'm going to take this little angled brush and I'm going to use that to contour with because this brush is literally so small that I feel like it's going to be perfect for that. Like you can see now, like when I put it up to my face, like how small this brush is. The handle is also very short, so if that's something that you don't like, you might not like these, but I honestly don't really mind, and I feel like I just prefer my brushes to be as small as possible. Obviously you want your face brushes to like cover parts of your face, but I feel like for having a small face, like this is a good sized brush for me. And for my bronzer, I'm gonna go in with the biggest of the brushes. So you can see this is the biggest size that is in the set. So I think that's pretty cool for like, usually when you buy brush sets, you always have one brush that's way too big, at least in my opinion. So I feel like this is going to be a nice brush for, you know, applying bronzer. It could also be a nice blush brush. I feel like this is honestly a little bit too big for me to be a bronzer brush, but I also know people who use bronzer brushes that are like half the size of their face, so I feel like a lot of people would really like this. And also the brush is extremely soft. It's a little bit like, not uncomfortable to hold, but like there are kind of, it's kind of a rough texture, so it's not like my favorite brush handle to actually use. It's more of a, what would I call it? A display piece, if you will. Like I feel like these would look really good just like, you know, on your vanity, just like shown off, because they're really, really pretty. As for the practicality of like actually using them, I don't know how often I would want to hold a brush with this kind of handle, but they're literally so cute, and I feel like this is the kind of thing that you would give as a gift or something like that, because a lot of people would probably really like getting something like this. So there really isn't a brush in here that I can use for my blush, so I'm just going to go ahead and put on some real quick, because I don't want to use the same one that I used for my bronzer, because obviously that one is dirty. So for my highlight, I'm gonna go in with this kind of small, what would I even call this? It's almost like a small contour brush. I feel like you could use this for contour, but it's probably meant to be used for highlight. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put on some highlight with this. It's also kind of nice and dense, which I like denser brushes for my highlight, because I just feel like it's able to apply a little bit more and make the highlight a bit more intense. So like I said, we're not going to be doing any looks with any of these two palettes today. If you want to see me do that in a separate video, let me know. I would definitely be interested in playing with this palette, because this is just so cute. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to be using the Island Babe palette, which was this one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyes with my Smashbox Lid Primer in light, like I always do. And I'm actually going to use one of the brushes in the set to blend out my primer, because this brush here is a little bit too big for me to actually use with shadows. But it's perfect to use as something like this, because I like using kind of dense fluffy brushes to blend out my eyeshadow primer, because I just feel like it gives me a really nice flat surface to work on. And I think I want to do kind of like a yellow, purple, red, orange kind of eye look, so kind of like a sunset eye, but it's going to look a little bit different. So I'm first going to go into Shine, which is the yellow matte here, and I'm going to take one of these very small packing brushes. I love these for doing like a 3-colored crease, because they're really easy to like pack shadow where I want it. So I am curious about this yellow, because it didn't swatch the best when I swatched it, so I hope it's going to be a little bit more pigmented on the eye here. So I'm just going to stamp this on in the inner part of my crease here. And this is not like a rainbow yellow, it's not a primary yellow, it's almost more like a pastel yellow. So I really like the tone of this, it's very unique. It's not the most pigmented yellow that I think I've ever tried, and honestly I've yet to find like a really, really good yellow. It's so hard to find good yellow mattes anywhere. If you have a good yellow that you really like, I know Sugar Pill has a good yellow, but if you guys have like your favorite matte yellow, I would love to know. Ideally in a single, because I really feel like my singles collection is lacking a very, very bright, good matte yellow. So let me know what your favorite yellow in your collection is. So as you can see, it's not the most pigmented yellow, like I said, but it is also a very light yellow, and usually light shades like this will perform better on a white base, and I don't like to use a white base, you guys know this, so that's why this color isn't showing up as bright as it possibly could. So next I'm going to go into Iris, which is the purple here, and I'm going to put that in the outer corner of my eye. And I just wiped off the brush, and I'm using the same brush here, and I'm just going to stamp that on the outer corner here. And I'm not going to pull it into my crease too much. I'm going to mostly focus it just in the outer corner, and then I'm going to go in with the orange, I think, and I'm going to kind of layer that on top to sort of blend this out. Or I might even go in with the blue. Maybe the blue could be kind of fun, because I feel like blue and purple is going to mix better together. I could also use the red. Maybe the red is what I'm going to use. I don't know. I'm gonna put this down and then see what I feel like. I really like the tone of this. I feel like it matches my hair perfectly, and I've been loving that matchy life lately. I don't know. I feel like I'm always in a matchy mood. But I feel like this purple is laying down really nicely. It's actually performing a lot better than it swatched, because I did have to layer it quite a few times, and it did seem a little bit sheer when I swatched it, but that's why I didn't really mention the swatches, because swatches don't really mean anything. The only thing that means something is how they apply on the eyes. And I feel like swatches are really only good to like be able to see the color story in a palette, but this is performing really nicely. So I guess what I'll do is I'll go into Sangria, which is the red up here. I'm curious to see if this is going to lean more pink or more orange, or if it's actually a true red. So I'm going to tap off my brush here. I'm still using the same one, I just wiped it off, and I'm just going to run that right above that purple that I put down, just to sort of blend this out. And I'm also going to start pulling this through my crease, kind of layering it above that yellow that I put down. And I definitely feel like this is pulling a little bit pink, but it could also be because it's touching that purple. And I'm going to leave this kind of unblended in the inner part of my eye here, just like on this side, because I'm going to take a bit of the orange, I think, and kind of squeeze that in between these two colors. But I kind of like how this is looking. I feel like we're going to be able to get a pretty cool look out of this. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I mean, do I ever? But I don't know. I was just feeling these colors today. I'm next going to take another brush that's looking very, very similar, but it's a little bit flatter. Whoa, I just dropped it. I swear, I drop a brush in every single video. I'm next going to go into Tangerine, which is the orange. This is probably the shade that I felt swatched the best out of all of the palettes that I swatched, and it looked really, really bright. So I did tap off my brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of sandwich that in between the yellow and the red here, and just kind of get a bit of a fun gradient going. And I just want that yellow to kind of be poking through. I don't want that to really take over the look. But this orange is actually performing super nicely. I mean, that is beautiful. I'm gonna dip into that purple just one last time here with the other brush that was a bit fluffier, and I'm gonna try to just run this through my crease a little bit to just get a bit more definition. But trying to build up a purple is not always the best idea, but we're gonna see if I'm able to just build a little bit here just in the inner part of my eye. I'm not mad at this. I kind of like how this is looking. So what do I want to do next? I think I'm going to go into the shimmery purple right here, and I'm going to put that on kind of like the middle of my eye, and then I think for the inner part of my eye I'll go in with probably the champagne shade, because I want something that's really light and not too cool toned. So I'll probably use that, but first I'm going to take, what did I say I was going to take? This one, which is called Lilac, and I'm going to take that on the flat brush. Also going to spray that with some Fix Plus like I always do with my shimmers. And I'm just going to put that in the middle of my lid here, and I'm going to work on getting a good gradient between the shimmer and the matte on the outer part of my lid. And that's really, really pretty. It's not the most intense metallic shadow, but I feel like it's nice and opaque enough that it covers very well, and it's just got a beautiful sheen to it. And I think that meshed in with that purple really nicely too. So because I want this look to be a little bit just different, because isn't that what I always try to do, I think I'm going to go in with Nature on my lower lash line, which is this kind of shimmery dark green. I don't know how that would look. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll even go in with a bit of the blue in this palette as well. I don't really know, but I think that's what I want to start off with. And I don't really have a brush in this set that's going to be good for that, so I'm just going to use one of my own. And I'm going to go ahead and spray this as well, since it is a shimmer. And I'm just going to use this to smudge underneath my eye. Ooh, that's a beautiful green. I like that. So the question now is, do I want to use a little bit of this blue? Oof, that's so pretty. I don't know if I can help myself. I think I'm going to take a bit of that, which is called Bora Bora. And if that ends up being too dark, I might layer a little bit of this kind of white shimmer on top. But I'm first going to go in with that on the rest of my lower lash line. I also do want to just test out as many colors as I can, because I like to do that in my first impressions. It's just fun. It's just fun to dip into a lot of shadows and try to put as many as possible on the eyes here. So I feel like maybe this is going to be a little bit too dark for like the inner portion of my eye, but I'm going to go ahead and pack it on pretty heavily, and then I'm going to layer a little bit of that kind of white shimmer on top of this. So I'm next going to go into Champagne, and I'm going to put that on the rest of my top lid. And then when I've done that, I'm going to go into Coconut, which is the lightest of the shimmers. It's really just like a white, and I'm going to take that and layer it slightly above that blue that I have in the inner portion of my lower lash line. So, I mean, I think that that was a really good decision to kind of layer that white on top of the blue. I feel like it really opened up my eyes, and that Champagne shade performed beautifully. That's really, really pretty. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of my eyes. I'll probably pop something blue in my waterline, do some lighter mascara. Then I'll come back and I will talk a little bit more about my first impression on this palette, and then we can get into doing a look with the neon shadows after. So here's the completed look. I think this turned out really nice. I decided to go with a bit of a nude lip because I wanted the eyeshadow to be the star of the show today, and I really feel like they are. Like, honestly, I'm so impressed right now, and I wasn't sure what to expect because I'd never heard of the brand before. I had never tried the brand. The only complaint that I really have, it's not even really a complaint, it's just that I don't think that this is the best yellow that I've ever tried. Like I said, I have better yellows in my collection, but I'm still looking for my perfect yellow. But other than that, everything else performed beautifully, and I really like the look that I came up with too. I don't really do sunset eyes very often, but I feel like I should because I kind of like them on myself. I think they're pretty flattering. And the shimmer formula is really nice. They're not very super foiled metallic shadows, but for being a shimmer, it's a really nice shimmer formula. They're nice and smooth. They go on very opaquely. They're easy to blend into other shimmers. They're not crumbly at all. They blend and do very well on the lower lash line, which I really like having shimmers on my lower lash line. So having a formula like this for that purpose, I really like that. So yeah, the brushes as well. I really like the brushes. I like the fact that they're small. I like the fact that they fit my face very well. So far, all good. So I'm a little bit worried though for getting into these neon shadows because, I don't know. Let's just get into this because I definitely want to talk to you a little bit about my experience with neons before I get into actually trying out these neons. So let's go ahead and get into the second look now. Alright, so it is time to play with some neon shadows. Now, like I was just saying, I want to just talk to you a little bit about my experience with neon shadows. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I haven't had the best experiences with neon so far because apparently I just don't know how to work with them, and I refuse to accept the fact that neons don't work like regular eyeshadows. So in today's video, I want to actually try to work with these the way that people say you're supposed to work with neon shadows instead of trying to be so stubborn and pretending like these are pressed eyeshadows, which they're obviously not. And so how I'm going to do this today is that I'm going to not do a lot of blending with these. I'm also probably not going to put them all over my lid because with my eyelids, since I have hooded lids, a lot of the time, even when I pack them on top of a cut crease or something like that, it just looks patchy on me. So I'm pretty sure that is just my eyes that are doing that. So I'm not going to do like a whole lid full of just like matte neon shadows because I just already know that that is just not going to work for me. And I did kind of try to put these on my eyes the other day just to kind of see if they were the same formula as all other neons that I've ever tried, and they are, and I think that is just the only way to formulate neons, so I need to just accept that and move on, and we're gonna just play with these as like more of an accent. I'm going to use them in my crease though. I did find when I tried these that they worked perfectly in the crease as long as you don't try to layer them on top of each other and you try to blend or build. Like, you really need to just use these on their own. Am I making any sense? You can't really go in and put one color in your crease and then try to deepen up the outer corner with something else, because the thing about neons is that I don't think there's a binder in them, which means that they're not going to stick to something that's not tacky. So if you try to layer a powder on top of a different powder, it's just going to fluff away. So basically you need to put everything that you're going to use as a neon on top of a wet base, otherwise it's just going to look really bad and patchy. So I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyes. So I'm of course going to use my eyeshadow primer that I always use, and that's going to be the Smashbox Lid Primer in Light. So for this look I'm going to use, I was going to swatch these, but I tried swatching them the other day, and neons are just so powdery that they're not going to stick to your arm unless you put down something else to swatch them on. And so I'm not going to do that, but I will take these out of the packaging and I will show you the ones that I do have. And then I kind of have a look in mind that I want to do, and so I'll show you the colors that I want to work with. So these are the ones I got, and as you can see on camera, they are looking extremely bright. The top one here is called Berry Hibiscus. The blue one is called Bora Bora. The orange is Orange Burst. This looks absolutely beautiful and so cool. And then the pink one is called Flamingo. This one also looks so bright. Then we have a purple, which is called Electra. And we have the green, which is called Limelight. So I definitely want to use the green somehow. I'm thinking I want to use maybe the blue and the green together. So maybe I'll do like a two-tone crease because I think that will look okay. And I'll put the green in the inner part of my crease and then the blue in the outer part. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a cut crease and then probably put a shimmer on the lid or something like that. And then I want to do a wing with probably one of these by mixing one of them with some Duraline. I think that could look really cool. And I'm just hoping that the whatever liner it is that I end up making is going to cover up like whatever color I have in the outer corner here. So if I have blue in the outer corner, maybe I'll do the purple as my wing or something like that, because that might be dark enough that it's going to cover it up. So I'm first going to go ahead and just prime. I'm also going to prime underneath my eyes when I get that far, but I don't want my eyeshadow primer to really dry out too much, so I'm going to try to work kind of quick with this to make sure that this is as tacky as it can be when we're going in with these shadows. So I'm first going to go ahead and take the green here, and I'm picking some up on my Sigma E42 brush, which is a very small blending brush, and I'm just going to stamp that on exactly where it is that I want it in the inner part of my crease here. And I'm probably going to pull this about halfway across or so, and I'm really just pressing this into my skin. I'm not doing any blending at all yet. I am going to go in and do a little bit of blending once I've gotten this where I want it, and you can see now like just how bright this is. Like that's honestly so beautiful. So I really hope I'm going to be able to keep the vibrancy of this without blending it away too much, because I tend to over blend neon shadows just because I am a fan of like very blended looks, and so that's probably one of the reasons why I can't seem to get neon shadows to work for me that well, because I just like to blend. So I'm going to go ahead and just really pack this on here. I'm trying to not go overboard because it is a loose pigment and it does pick up a lot on my brush, so I'm trying to kind of prevent some fallout here by taking it a little bit at a time while still not taking too little. So I definitely think that that's looking really nice and vibrant. I mean, that is absolutely stunning. Holy crap, that's so bright. Like imagine this as an inner corner highlight, like that would be so fun. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of wipe off my brush here and just get the excess off of it on a towel in front of me. And I'm going to go in and just slightly blend the edges here just so I can not have as sharp of a line. So I still think that this is able to look really nice and pigmented. And I really just hope that I'm able to work with these properly, because when they said they wanted to send me neon shadows, I was like, here we go again. Because you guys know, I am just apparently not the right person to work with these, but maybe these neon shadows are just better than all the other neon shadows that I've tried. Only time will tell, but so far we are off to a very good start. So I'm going to go into the blue pigment now, which was called Bora Bora. Still going to use that same brush again. I just wiped it off on my towel in front of me so that it is clean enough. And I'm basically just going to do the exact same thing that I did with the green. I'm just going to pack this on the outer corner of my eye here. That is so bright. Oh my god, I hope this stays as bright as this because this is amazing. I'm gonna keep the shape of this pretty round, so I probably put on a little bit too much of this, but we'll see if I'm going to be able to do any kind of blending just in the middle here where these two colors meet. I can already tell that it's lifting from, you know, you see where I put down the green and then I try to go in with the blue on top. You just can't do that with neons. Like you really can't put them on top of each other because it is going to get patchy. So I wiped off my brush and I'm going to go ahead and just try to kind of swipe that back over and see if I can get some kind of a gradient here. That might actually be kind of tough. But I'm going to try to start blending this out now. So you can see how much brighter it is just like on my lid here where I haven't done any kind of blending, but as soon as I go in and I try to diffuse this color, it's looking a lot less bright than it did when I first put it down, but I think we'll be able to work with this. I'm just going to kind of dust off a little bit of this that I have on my lid here because I'm going to go ahead and cut my crease, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference here if it is looking a little bit patchy. And that's definitely my fault for just going in with the green too far, just like on the lower part here. And this is what I mean about just neon shadows being extremely hard to work with. And this is why I tend to stay away from them and not try to, you know, do a look like this with neon shadows. I feel like if I had just gone in with, say, a black on the outer corner of my eye, like it wouldn't be a problem because the black would have been able to lay on top of the green, but since I did go in with another of the neons, this is why I'm having a bit of a hard time just getting the blend between the blue and the green to look good. I'm also having quite a bit of fallout on this side because I just went in with too much. I'm just not very good at working with that. Oh, that was not a good idea. Now I'm gonna have blue all over my face. Oh no. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and go fix that after, but I'm gonna wait until I'm done with the rest of my eye because this is going to get really messy, I feel like. So as you can see, it's definitely not sticking right here and right here because I did try to layer it on top of the green, and also a little bit of the green is lifting here because I've been over with my brush. So this is why you don't want to use really more than one shadow when you're using a neon. I'm going to try to go in with a bit more of the green and just kind of tap that right over here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and cut my crease. And to do so, I'm going to use my P. Louise base, and I'm going to cut my crease a little bit differently this time than what I normally do. I'm going to make like a full half circle on, full half, is that a thing? I'm going to make a half circle on my lid, so I'm going to cut it all the way from the inside to the outside, just making it like a half moon. And I'm just hoping that my concealer is going to be able to cover all of this up because I did put a lot of shadow on my lid here, so this might end up getting a little bit muddy, and I might have to go in with a bit of a darker shade on my lid afterwards, but we'll see. I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and then we will come back to putting on more eyeshadows as soon as I'm done. So I think that cut crease turned out pretty good. It was able to cover up most of the pigment that I had on my lid here. So I'm actually going to go into the Island Bay palette again, and I'm going to use the coconut shade. I think it was called coconut. Yeah, the white one. So the white shimmer. And I'm basically going to go ahead and put that right on top of where I put down my cut crease. Of course, going to give this a quick spritz here with some Fix Plus. And then I'm just going to pack that basically all over the P. Louise base there. I'm going to make sure I tap out the creases first. Oh, that's beautiful. That's got a bit of a blue tint to it. I didn't expect that. That's really pretty. So I quite like this. I'm looking in the viewfinder and the colors are still looking really nice and bright. So I'm happy I was able to cut my crease high enough up that you can't really see any issues that I had with the patchiness on my lid, which I was totally expecting. I said that. I knew there was going to be some patchiness on the lid, which is why I decided to cut my crease. So what I'm going to do next is I'm basically going to do the same thing on the lower lash line that I did on top. I'm going to go in with some eyeshadow primer, put down the same pigments in the same order, and then I think what I'm going to do next is I'm gonna go ahead and do that liner with the purple. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change my mind. I think I might want to use the orange on the bottom just because I can and because I want to and because I want to try it, and I just think that would look really cool and it would match my earrings. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna blend out this eyeshadow primer, and then I'm gonna put some of the orange on my lower lash line. Wow, that's very bright. That is so beautiful. Oh. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Like, that is looking crazy, but in the best way possible. Should I go in with the purple as a liner still? I think I am. I'm gonna change my battery, and then we're gonna be playing with some of the shadow right here. Alright, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump a little bit out of this. This does have a sifter, but you can also open it so you can, you know, get more out of it. So I'm going to take a little bit over on my mixing tray here, and then I'm going to mix a few drops of it with Duraline. And when I say a few drops, I mean a few drops. So here I have the pigment. I'm going to take a little bit of the Duraline and probably put about 2 or so drops. I'm going to start with 2 and see what kind of consistency this ends up being. I don't know if you're able to see anything here, but I'm just taking a small eyeliner brush here, and I'm going to start just mixing this together until it becomes a bit of a paste. Somewhat of the consistency of like a gel eyeliner is what I'm looking for with this. You don't want this to be like too wet because it's going to take too long to dry, and it's also probably not going to be super opaque. So what I'm looking for is basically something a little bit like, yeah, you probably can't see this. I'm going to try to show you a bit up close. It's probably not going to focus. Yeah, something like that. So this is going to go on a lot darker than what the pigment actually is, but once it dries, it's going to dry more true to color. At least that is my experience in trying to mix loose shadows with Inglot Duraline. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a wing now. I'm not gonna be able to talk while I do this, but I'll just fast forward so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Because I messed up a little bit on this side and it went a little too far down because of my hooded eyes, I'm actually going to connect it to my lower lash line here. I just make this wing kind of go from the underneath the eye. So I'm just going to leave this alone because I am just messing this all up because apparently I don't know how to do eyeliner today. So to fix it, I'm going to kind of put a little bit of purple in my waterline. I'm going to put on some liner mascara. Hopefully by the time, you know, everything is together, it's going to look better and not so great. So I'm gonna do all that. I'll put on a lipstick of some sort and then I'll be back and show you the completed look. So here's the final look, and I honestly think that putting on some liners and mascaras just made everything just work together so much more, and it just came together, and I really like how this is looking. Honestly, these are by far the brightest neon shadows that I have ever tried. Are they a little bit hard to work with? Yes. Is every neon shadow going to be this hard to work with? Probably. And I've just kind of accepted that, and I think that if you go into it with the right mindset and just kind of knowing that you can't do what you normally do with your eyeshadows with neon shadows, I think you might like these. I mean, for the price point too, it's such a cool thing to have in your collection. Like, I think these retail for $6. I'll put the price up on the screen, and of course everything will be listed down in the description box as well, but you can buy these as singles, you can buy these as sets. And I am just like so impressed by everything that I tried in this video, like pleasantly surprised. The palette is really good too. I didn't really struggle with this palette at all. And now it makes me really curious to play with the other palette that they sent me that I really like the small one with the pinks and purples in it. I'm very intrigued by that now. So thank you to Glamierre for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you guys for watching as always. If you want to see some similar content, I will pop some up on the screen so you can keep on watching. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.